An unprecedented and historic moment in American politics. Day one of what will surely be a wild couple of months heading up to Election Day. This is a live look at the White House, which President Joe Biden is no longer trying to win. The 81-year-old bowed out of the race today amid growing calls for him to step aside. This nation has never seen a presidential nominee drop out of a race so close to the election, and we are covering all angles of this monumental announcement.
We spoke to Minnesota leaders and voters, and we have live coverage from our reporters, Democratic and Republican strategists, and political analysts. Our Court Hoggard is standing by with the reaction from Minnesota's elected officials tonight. But we begin our coverage with Rob Olson, who is walking us through this historic decision.
We have two political strategists in studio to help us digest the news, break it all down for us. On the Democratic side, Javier Murillo, and former Democratic National Committee member. Thank you for being here, Javier. And on the Republican side, Amy Koch, the former Majority Leader of the Minnesota Senate. Thank you for being here as well.
These are our friends, and this community is hurting today. And I would just ask all Georgians and all Americans to continue to keep these families, these educators, and these students in your thoughts and prayers.
Breaking within the last hour, Georgia leaders addressing the nation after a 14-year-old opened fire at a high school there, killing 4 and injuring 9. They provided several updates in this latest address, so let's get right to Babs Santos.
Babs, you've been tracking this developing story for us all day. What have you learned tonight?
Well, breaking right now, a heavy law enforcement presence at Park Tavern in St. Louis Park.
And this is still very much a developing situation, and not a lot is known right now. We really don't have much confirmed, but our Mike Manzoni is at the scene. So we want to go live to him with a look at what has happened there, or what it looks like happened there. Mike?
When Marvin went to prison, he was just a boy. Today, when Marvin walked out of Stillwater, he walked out as a man.
Nearly 2 decades since then, 16-year-old Marvin Hayes was sentenced to life in prison for a murder he has long maintained he did not commit. He was released from prison today at the age of 36.
I'm just grateful. I mean, it took 19 years, but I'm here, and all I want to do is move forward and just get my life back. That's it.
A Hennepin County judge signed an order vacating Haynes' conviction this morning following a post-conviction hearing on Haynes' case just last week. We were the first Twin Cities station to bring you this breaking news story earlier today.
And we have team coverage on this tonight. Rose Schmidt is standing by with more on potential compensation for Haynes. First, though, let's go to Paul Bloom, who has been following this story from the very beginning. He has you covered on how today's development came to be and what it means for those on both sides of the case.
Flags flying at half-staff across Minnesota today to honor the lives of 3 heroes killed in the line of duty. Both officers, Paul Elmstrand and Matthew Ruge, were 27 years old, while firefighter paramedic Adam Finseth was 40 years old. All 3 were shot and killed while responding to a domestic call in Burnsville early yesterday morning.
We have been following this story since then, and tonight we have live team coverage of several new developments. Courtney Godfrey and Babs Santos will have more on who these men were and how the community is remembering them.
But first, our Paul Bloom has the new details we've learned about the gunman.
The jury finds Nikolai Mew guilty of first-degree reckless homicide as submitted. Question: did Mr. Mew commit the crime while using a dangerous weapon? Answer: yes.
After 7 days of testimony that included more than 40 witnesses, the jury in the Apple River stabbing trial has found Nikolai Mew guilty on 6 charges. Those include 1 count of first-degree reckless homicide in the stabbing death of Isaac Schumann, 4 counts of first-degree recklessly endangering safety in the stabbings of 4 others, and 1 count of battery in the assault of another. Now Mew faces nearly 100 years in prison, but sentencing will ultimately be up to a judge at a later date.
Our Courtney Godfrey has been following this story from the very beginning and joins us now with more on this. So Courtney, the jury coming back with a verdict quicker than most expected.
The day George Floyd was murdered and the days that followed are forever ingrained in countless Minnesotans' memory. During that chaotic and tragic time of unrest, many turned to art, putting their pain into powerful pieces that live with us to this day. Well, now efforts to preserve the murals that popped up around town after Floyd's murder have found a new home.
Memorialize the movement moved into a new building that believes will help its mission of maintaining a living archive of that turbulent time. Maury Glover shows us how.
I've just signed Executive Order 20-01, declaring a peacetime state of emergency for the state of Minnesota, dealing with the coordinating of Minnesota's strategy to protect Minnesotans from COVID-19.
It has been 4 years since the day Minnesota entered a peacetime state of emergency in the midst of the pandemic. A lot changed back then, and even though the dial that Governor Walz talked so much about during the pandemic is back to normal now, we are still feeling those ripple effects.
Yeah, that includes labor shortages, economic impacts, and remote work. Here's a look back at us working from home. Well, we were thankful for a day where we could get outside. We want to check the weather with meteorologist Ian Leonard. And Fox 9's Courtney Godfrey live tonight from her own house. That's how it was back then. Courtney, 4 years doesn't really feel like it was that long ago. I still feel like we are still living in a bit of this COVID era. We are only hours away from the end of the legislative session, and still there are many big issues left to work out. From sports betting to funding for infrastructure projects, time is running out for many of these items to be addressed tonight. Fox 9's Courtney Godfrey is live at the state capitol with the very latest.